Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us out here in Avon for our, I believe, fourth Spotlight event of the year. We are excited to be here, excited for the conversation ahead. If you've been to these events before, you've heard, but I still like to reiterate, we started these events about 2 years ago as a way to highlight the communities throughout the 9-county region. We saw this as an opportunity to take a deep dive on the work that's being done and the leaders that are leading the extraordinary work throughout the 9 counties. These events would not be possible without many partners. I will highlight all of them throughout, but first and foremost, the local chambers of commerce and economic development organizations that help host us and co-host us, like you see this morning, but also help us to make sure that we're telling the story of the communities that we're in. So with that in mind, it is my pleasure to introduce to you all this morning Tom Downard, Executive Director of the Avon Chamber of Commerce, to welcome us all to Avon.
Well, thank you all. Appreciate the attendance. It's a great turnout today. We're very fortunate to host the event today. Want to certainly thank Cooper's Hawk for opening the doors a little bit early today and providing us with some great breakfast. Certainly want to thank Duke Energy and their sponsorship. Yesterday, we finished up our Indiana Chamber Executive Association conference, of which they were a sponsor, and we heard Stan speak at lunch. But they're great community partners. They're great community partners for small business. They do wonderful things to help chambers of commerce throughout the entire state. And so I want to certainly thank Stan and his group for all of that sponsorship. Again, welcome. I think we're going to have some great detail today on the town of Avon and things going on in the town of Avon. It is a great place to come and do business. So if any of you are out there and are developers or thinking of doing business here in Avon, we'd love to have you. Certainly contact the chamber and we'll help you in any way we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. And a little birdie just told me that you won an award yesterday.
We did.
Can you share with the group what you were recognized for?
Sure, thank you. And I also should probably thank Jean Rank for that as well. She started out her days back at the Indy Chamber of Commerce in some advocacy and lobbying and those types of things. The 4 chambers of commerce in Hendricks County came together a couple of years ago with the guidance from Jean to put together our own advocacy group. We don't have a lobbyist per se downtown at the legislature, but we do have an advocacy group that is growing and growing and growing and getting stronger. Any of you would like to participate in that, we'd love it. But we received an award from the State Chamber Executive Association for that advocacy collaboration group. So thank you for mentioning that.
Congratulations on the award. And thank you for the welcome to Avon. You mentioned Duke Energy earlier. Duke Energy is a strong partner in this event series. They have been since the inception a couple of years ago. And so I am thrilled to introduce to you all my co-host this morning and State President of Duke Energy Indiana, Stan Finnegar.
Thank you, Sarah. I picked up the title co-host just this year. It's really been
and doing great.
A new thing for me, but with Sarah's leadership, we're getting through these and having a lot of fun. I just want to say a couple things. Of course, all of us work just south of here in Plainfield, and so this county is hugely important to us. And no surprise to you, we have 2,500 employees in Indiana, and about a quarter of those live in Hendricks County, and I know many live in Avon. So thanks to the Avon community for hosting many of our employees, and I know they find it a great place to live and work. We, because of our location in Plainfield, we pay a lot of attention to Hendricks County and Avon. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, and Steve Banning is here somewhere, who, Jeff Banning, I'm sorry. I know it's Steve Banning as well. Where's Jeff? Hi, Jeff. Jeff's in the back. I apologize, Jeff. So Jeff, we partnered with Jeff many years ago on what we call site readiness programs, and they've been hugely successful around our service territory. The idea is to, as he just reminded me, it's to look at these sites early, figure out the pluses and minuses where attention needs to be paid before development happens. And just last year, through the leadership of our economic development team and Jean, we identified the Avon Logistics Center, which is just north of the rail yard. And so that work and development is beginning in that area, and we're proud to be part of that. I want to introduce my team here real quick. Rick Smith is a large account manager for us. He, in this area, he helps our bigger, more complicated customers succeed and take care of any issues that they have. Haley Thomason is a leader in our economic development group and was part of last year's site readiness adventure that we had here at Avon. Gene Rink, who was just noted, is a community relations manager that's responsible for Hendricks County, as well as several other counties. And Marvin Blade is with us. Marvin is on my team, and he leads Gene's group that do what Gene does throughout 69 counties. So thank you all for being with us.
Duke team, raise your hand so we can see you. The Duke team, folks.
They had to be in the front row.
Without further ado, I am excited to jump into the conversation today. In some of our prep calls, we've had a lot of exciting content pop up and things that I'm really excited for you all to hear more about. Before we do, a little bit of background on Town Council President Pope. He is a fourth-generation combat veteran and born and raised on the west side of Indianapolis. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in 2000 and, including the invasion of Iraq, served with distinction until 2004. Thank you for your service, President Pope. Robert, his wife Josie, and 4 children moved to Avon in 2013, and he has spent his time on town council working to improve the community's diverse tax base, to allow the town to grow financially in the future, and to make government more attainable to any person. Please join me in welcoming President Pope. So, President Pope, you clearly have a mind for service based on your background. You're in your 4th year on the town council. Can you talk a little bit about your path to office, what made you want to serve on town council, and some of your proudest accomplishments since taking office?
Sure. So what led me here, you said service. I think we were talking with Stan. It's up here a little closer. We were talking with Stan beforehand. I genuinely feel that this service to my community is purely an extension of my service to my country when I enlisted. In fact, I made that comment when I did my swearing in. This is only the 2nd time in my life I've sworn an oath. First time was to the country. This time was to my community. So I feel that service is purely a matter of doing for others, and you can't do anything. There's nothing more honorable than doing something for other people for that greater good. Yes, what accomplishments since I got here. So very proud of a few things, probably the most important of which is getting the right people on the bus. Sometimes that can be a challenge, but for us, this council recognized a few years ago, for us to be able to enact the vision or the things that we wanted to bring to the community, we really needed to make sure we had the right people in the right spots. And we took some time, we slowed down, took some time to focus on getting those right people. And without that, I don't think anything else that we accomplished would have happened. So for me, it's probably very small to the residents of the community that they probably don't see that. But the thing that I'm most proud about is getting those right people on the bus to really help that. I would follow that up with probably our focus on public safety. We've added 10 additional officers just in the last 3 years. I'd add that we've had a focus on trying to improve our trust. Our Hendricks County Community Foundation did a survey in 2019, I believe. Let us know, but not just us, the county-wide, that there's a bit of a lack of trust in our elected officials. And we decided to attack that by communications. So we now have a full dedicated communications department just to try to educate, communicate with our residents. Again, the goal being improving that trust. And I'd follow that up with transparency as well. We have, before it was cool, we put cameras in our council chamber and started live streaming our council meetings. Again, making it more accessible to anyone in the community to kind of follow and watch what their leadership is doing. So I have some more, but I know we've got other questions, so feel free. I'm open-ended here.
I appreciate your discussion around trust and transparency with local government. Have you seen more engagement as a result of that from your citizens?
Absolutely. I'm sure I'm kind of looking to Jared. Jared can give us some statistics to watch as that number has risen. We have done a lot of work to try to build that engagement, try to make sure that residents are informed, they're coming to see us. We do a lot more collaboration between just our different departments to spread awareness of our events, programs, maybe our police department has and offers. So the short answer, absolutely, we've seen a drastic uptick in our engagement, and we hope that effectively impacts that lack of trust.
Absolutely. Congratulations. Always work to do in that regard, right?
Yes, it's a never ending.
I wanted to ask, obviously, Avon is a popular area to live in, and I just wanted to touch upon how your vision and your colleagues' vision about quality of place as you move forward. has
Sure. So,
amenities and
Yeah, apologize. I had this, one of the other things that I'm very proud of that we've been able to accomplish is parks land. Parks are a drastic quality of life feature. One thing we've been able to do is, I'm sure many developers, builders out here know land around here is not cheap. So when we can find a particular piece of land that's in a strategic location for a park and at a strategic price, we really want to jump on that. So we have, over the last few years, been able to find and take advantage of some strategic parks land. Right now it's undeveloped, but we're working on that. I think beginning next year, we're trying to work on getting some of those developed so we can improve those amenities and make it the quality of life much more improved. I'd like to also highlight, we have an amazing trail system. It's going to be, I just said it's amazing. It's going to be even better amazing once we finally get the thing finished and done. Hopefully that's never, right? We're always going to continue and grow that, but our parks and trails are just some of the greatest, and we're trying to improve that and as well.
President, the importance of parks and amenities and quality of life, especially around the built environment, is not lost on, I'm sure, anyone in this room, especially as we think about talent and the future of the region. And in conversations before the event, we talked a lot about the Eastern Gray project as one of the many projects happening here in Avon. Can you speak a little bit to the importance of this project and others to your resident population?
Oh, yes, I can speak plenty to Eastern Gray. So, wow. So Eastern Gray, one of the problems that we, community identified need, we've heard it time and time again from our community, was a lack of a town center, a lack of a downtown. Stan, you and I, just before we recognized we have a lack of a gathering or meeting place. So that was one of the priorities we saw when we were approached to potentially develop out what we're now calling Eastern Gray. Another part of that community identified need was walkable shopping, attachment and closeness to trails and systems, so you don't necessarily need to drive to our heart of our community, a hopeful heart of our community. As well, meeting space, just as I mentioned, again, there's trails and gathering and events. Another thing that we're hoping to accomplish inside of this is to have a very central government taxing entity location. We're calling it a government center for now, but it's right now we're looking at including the town of Avon's town hall and our school's administration building right next to each other, linked with a meeting and gathering space for events, etc. So it's the goal being walk shopping, just that downtown heart feel, but also you're going to have the accessibility to your local taxing entities, the entities that you're going to want to deal with. We're right there next to these, right on top of the White Lip Creek Trail, right next to some of our most amazing parks, one of them undeveloped, and we'll get to that very soon in the future. There's some numbers I wanted to throw out here that come with Eastern Gray. We're expecting more than $500 million of assessed value strictly in the Eastern Gray property from not only this, we're calling it the Riverwalk District for now, but that commercial and downtown hub and feel. We're going to have an immense diversity of housing in that location. So we're expecting amazing, great things from there, and the positive impact that's going to make on the future. We know that there are developers that are looking and hearing for things like this, we know that that's going to draw them and bring them here. We're really excited about that one.
And the central building for Avon, I have to imagine that helps to drive some of the priorities that you talked about earlier around transparency and engagement and trust with elected officials.
It's absolutely. I don't know that we have anything specific to improve upon when we go in there strictly from that, but I know that we'll find those things that we can make government more accessible. Again, as I mentioned, we're trying to make it so you don't need to drive 3 or 4 locations around the community. You go to one stop. You're able to speak with your school administration, your town administration, building department, things like that. So we're hoping not only is this going to be that central location for some unique dining locations, some unique shopping destinations, but as well that civic center, that civic engagement, and especially those gatherings and events. We've got some amazing events, and I can't wait to have them hosted in our downtown, our one spot.
You touched upon housing, and of course, that's a big issue everywhere.
Yes.
Right now. And you mentioned in the new development, you expect various types of housing. Can you touch upon that demand and how you foresee Avon sort of tackling that in the future?
Sure. So it's another one that we've needed to listen to residents, or that we were able to listen to residents. They've kind of told us that they want to see or expect some diversity in housing, not just your standard cookie cutter single family homes. They want to see something more, a little different. So we've tried to really focus on that, as well as increased standards to those homes, some additional amenities in the neighborhoods, et cetera. Um, I don't know if many people know this, but this town is less than 30 years old. This town is very, very young. We are now at a point, or I like to call it that we're growing up, we're maturing, we're starting to take that next step to show that we're a strong community center, and housing is one area where we can ensure that is successful. So part of what we've done to try to diversify that housing and recruit residents here is we just recently updated our pardon me, not updated, we created our UDO. We had at least 3 different ordinances to confuse and make it challenging. That wasn't the intent, but that's what it actioned out for developers, for residents, and I'll be honest, even as a council member, sometimes they were very challenging to try to work through. So a few years ago, we sort of threw those away, rebuilt. We call it the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance, just a single place, single location, single document to define what we expect out of our residential buildings, things like that, our housing. As many of you guys are probably aware, development ordinances, you update those, you get those done, but the comp plan is really what really sets that vision and where we want things to say. We're working on that this year. So we'll be sort of wrapping all those up. And then I'm getting back to it. So Easton Gray and where that diversity in housing. So what's going to make Easton Gray really unique as far as from a housing aspect is we're going to have everything from apartments, townhomes, single family, and even one section is going to be HOPA focused, Housing for Old People Act. So for our aged citizens, we'll have a smaller footprint, et cetera. And then all the way up to $1 million plus estates are going to be in this, all within walking distance of hopefully the heart of this community. So again, I can't. I'm very excited. I'm very excited for Easton Gray. It's going to be a big for this community.
You have a unique situation here that you can comment on. In most communities in unincorporated areas, annexation is battle, right?
Sure.
You have areas of unincorporated portions of in and around Avon where they're asking to be annexed into the community. Can you comment on that? That's unique.
Yes, absolutely. So this council really believes that our residents deserve a few things. And one of them is just efficient and effective services for their tax dollars. We believe that duplication of services, overlapping visions, and development jurisdictions really go against that. They really make that a challenge. So we have really focused on trying to make that singular vision, that single development jurisdiction to make sure we build the community right. You've heard the saying, a camel is a horse built by committee. Well, we have currently 5 development jurisdictions for this community. And so we have taken a stance to make sure we can impact that and start growing that. So we have actively been, hey, you can come into the town. One of the chief arguments that we hear is taxes. Our taxes are going to go up. Lucky to say 98+% of this community are already at the tax cap, so their taxes can't go up. So we've used that as leverage to say, listen, we're going to provide you with our services, better policing. That's not fair. I'm not sorry, Sheriff Sadler. I'm not trying to speak badly on the sheriff. We believe our Avon Police Department is far better than all of them. So we believe you're going to get better services through our police department. We do an amazing job of maintaining, improving our roads. You're going to get those services as well. Again, we're just trying to right size the community, get the tax dollars in the right place. There's one other thing I wanted to mention on there. So you talked about how those residents might be wanting to, or why that's important. So we believe once we get that right sized, if you will, that tax situation right sized, that we'll be able to add additional services, improve the services that you're on, that we already provide. And if we get efficient enough, the goal eventually, hopefully, is we can lower that tax burden. Right now, you've got too many competition for those tax dollars, and that creates a problem, inefficiencies, et cetera. I want to leave, annexation is extremely important to me individually. Consolidation and one strong community, having us come together is very important to me. So I want to sort of end it on this. The hill, I've said this before to many people, the hill I'm willing to die on this issue is representation. Right now, there are the majority of people in this community are not actually in the town of Avon. And needless to say, the decisions me and my council make far outweigh any of the decisions any of the surrounding taxing entities or local governments might have on that. So to me, it's just undemocratic and un-American for me to make decisions that you can't come in and say, you know what, I don't like you, I need to fire you. We need to recruit or elect someone different. It also has a disadvantage to our business community. If you set up shop in unincorporated Avon, say you don't like the way we're running, you don't have a voice, you don't have a way to hire and fire us, as well as we have boards and commissions that help do a lot of the heavy lifting for this council to make decisions. And if you aren't in our town boards, you can't serve on the vast majority of it. So it's important to us to, this one strong community idea to try to bring development jurisdiction, protecting our schools and emergency services. Let me talk on that a minute. So why we want to protect our schools and emergency services. As I mentioned, those 5 development jurisdictions, sometimes because of the nature of these services for schools and emergency services, the nature of their jobs, sometimes they get footed with the responsibilities. So for the schools case, they get kids in their schools that they have to educate and teach. For emergency services, they might get called out to an emergency to handle, but because they're not in their district, they don't get those tax dollars. They're not in that taxing situation. So they're getting the responsibilities, but none of the tax dollars they're supposed to help, deliver on those responsibilities. Find that to be a very big problem. We're trying to fix it. So that's why this topic is very important to this council. Has been a driving force behind some of the political side of things that we're trying to do.
It's clear that you have a quite unique approach and view of annexation, and I commend you for looking at what could be a very provocative topic to some, with those values that you mentioned earlier in terms of access to government and transparency and trust. I think you are seems to be living that in the work that you're doing. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I want to shift gears a little bit to infrastructure. There's been significant investment along Ronald Reagan Parkway. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like for Avon, what all is happening there, and what's needed for your growth and to be able to be scalable?
So I think the most important thing for a local government, for this town to be able to do is to create an environment, to construct infrastructure, that will allow, that will support and encourage development. And so to scalability, speak about Ronald Reagan, we have invested a lot of our effort in trying to make that infrastructure, put that infrastructure in place, to again allow and grow these local businesses. I want to brag a little bit about what this community has coming up. We have the sort of the last rung of the ladder that a business startup might want to climb, all while staying within this community. So we have, either of you had a business idea? You guys have had to have some business. Right? Yeah. You guys created widgets, right? You guys create widgets, Widgets Inc. You've got this small widget company in your garage. You start growing. We can sort of help you there, but there's not much that the town will support you there. But you need to move up. You need to move. You've outgrown your garage. You need to grow up. We'll have shared office and co-working space soon. You don't need necessarily that. You need maybe a little larger storage or a small retail front. That additional storage. Excuse me. We're going to have some medium-sized business storage. We're calling it an incubator space. We're going to have that in the community. You already see some light and medium industrial size buildings for when your business gets to that size, growing up right along Ronald Reagan and our 100 South development. Hopefully this business is going amazing and strong for you. You grew up so much that you need to ship internationally now. You need a big box logistics store. We've got that now too. The idea is that as your business grows, the town is going to find a way to help and support and grow that business right along with you, all while staying right here in the community. So we're really excited about that one too.
That's great. It sounds like you're thinking of economic development along the full spectrum, from the startup to scale to export. In the same vein, where you are geographically positioned, you sit in the center of a logistics hub. You sit right near the airport. How has your location played into your broader economic development initiatives or strategy?
We would like to think Avon is the gateway into the west side of Indianapolis. We obviously know that without Indianapolis, we don't think many of these communities on the west side here would exist. But I think our central location within the county, within that gateway, is really impactful and really beneficial to us. The fact that we are centrally located along Ronald Reagan, which is an amazing thoroughfare for connecting 74 and 70. We are within less than a 10-minute drive from the greatest airport in America. So we are literally on top of the second largest rail yard in America. We have some of these very amazing logistics opportunities, and I think we're trying to take advantage of them to make us that, maybe not necessarily the hub just for logistics, but a location you think of, yes, we can make this business successful in this community.
Really, in the spirit of these sessions that we've had, it's a lot about local community collaboration, right? I mean, you've got, just in Hendricks County, you have pretty good sized cities and towns that, I'm sure have mutual goals, like workforce, for instance, developing pipelines and ongoing training for those folks you're talking about wanting to grow and begin their businesses here. So how can you just describe, how you've worked with your partners throughout Hendricks County and perhaps in Indianapolis to really attack, workforce and any other initiatives that you have underway?
Yeah. I say one recently. I give credit, Duke. Thank you very much for the grant just recently. Duke
teed that up real well, didn't we?
You did. That's right. You can pay me later. You guys gave a grant. Very appreciative. Thank you very much. To bring a site selector to the community. And I found that as a council member, I found that site selectors information very helpful. It was a bit of a SWOT analysis, telling us our strengths, weakness, some opportunities we can do. I don't think we were all that surprised by what our strengths and weaknesses were, but the opportunity section was um, not unique to Avon. They were really a focus on we need to look to the future to solve some of bring some solutions to these opportunities. Affordable housing and affordable childcare. Again, not unique to this community. Like you said, there's many of the other communities are having this struggle, this challenge as well. I'm looking forward to attacking that, going forward. I believe full well that we'll find a solution that's going to both be successful as well as stay within our vision and try to build this community the best we can.
You spoke about the school system and, your goal of bringing the school system next door, right, to Avon government. Can you talk about the impact of schools in your community and how that?
Yeah, we have one of the largest school systems in the state. We've got just under 11,000 students right now. We have, I believe we've been told we're expected 12 or 13 by 2030. I'm a little blanking on those numbers, but we're on that trajectory to be one of the top three, top five most populated school systems in the state. So having a strong relationship with our school system, having a strong working relationship with that school board is very important. So when we were presented with this opportunity for our new downtown, that was one of our very first things like, hey, why don't we have every taxing entity for this community come to this location? Um, the schools were the only one of those entities that said, hey, you know what, let's do that. Let's work together. We were more than happy to start working with working with them on this as well. They are also in the same situation, kind of like the town of Avon is. They're sort of outgrowing their space. We are outgrowing our town hall. They are outgrowing their administration center. So it just seemed that destiny for us to, oh, let's work on this together. Let's save the taxpayers some money. Let's double dip on this, core, this heart of the downtown area, make that a civic more than just local government, but your school's administration system as well. So the relationship between the town and the schools is great and only improving. And I think this is going to go a long way to really solidify that.
We have a few more questions, but we will be opening it up for audience Q&A in a few minutes. So think on your questions, have them ready. Before we jump into audience Q&A though, we were talking before the event this morning about the READY program. If you're not familiar, the READY program is the state's, the IEDC's regional opportunity. It's a regional grant opportunity. We've also talked a little bit about other regional initiatives throughout the 9-county Central Indiana area, such as the Central Indiana Redevelopment Authority. Can you talk a little bit about how Avon is plugging into these regional opportunities and how you see yourselves playing in and collaborating and really advancing the strengths of Central Indiana?
So Ready One was very different from what we're hearing Ready Two is. So my experience with Ready One, as challenging as it was, we used the Easton Gray project as what we wanted to focus on. As I mentioned earlier, the most important thing we can do is create that environment and construct infrastructure. Excuse me. So our focus with Ready One was to get some infrastructure into Easton Gray. So we're happy to thank you, John, very much for your hard work on getting that to us. I very much appreciate that. We got just under $878,000 to help us invest in that infrastructure in Easton Gray. Ready Two, we're very much in the intro stages to that. So I don't know that we have targeted a particular project or something that we would like. Again, it's kind of up in the air right now, but I am very positive, very confident that what we're going to do is, again, try and use it as constructing infrastructure, making an environment to make every last one of you business developers want to set up shop right here in this community.
In terms of how you work with other municipalities throughout the region, can you talk a little bit about what those partnerships look like, whether that's here in Hendricks County or throughout the broader region?
I'm sorry, can you say that one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of collaboration with other elected officials, can you talk a little bit about what that looks like here in Hendricks County or across the broader 9 counties?
It can be challenging, but I'm a firm believer in relationships drive a lot of interactions, and make sure that you trust and know the person that you're dealing with. And at the end of the day, believe it or not, we elected officials are still just human beings. We're still just regular people, and we have our own individual regular people, family problems challenges that we have to deal with. So finding time, finding the right space, the right conversation, like I said, can be challenging, but I know for myself, I know for many members of my council, building those relationships with other elected officials, not just in the community, but countywide, are extremely important. Building relationships with our legislators are very important for us to help bring some chamber legislation or legislation that might better improve the governance that we can provide, tax rates, et cetera. So you say how important and what the value is. Extremely important for us to have strong working relationships with not just within ourselves, within our community, but the greater county and, truth be told, the region and state as well. It can be challenging, but no matter what, at the end of the day, sometimes that's our job. That's the sacrifice of the service that we talked about earlier. Is, you know what, we've got to make sure and maintain those relationships, and I think we do a good job of trying to make sure those relationships are strong.
You do a great job. My team and I are very focused on supporting the region and having regional collaboration. So thank you for all of your work in advancing that. Any additional questions, Stan?
So when you said, you asked the question, what kind of small business we may want to venture
Sure.
into. So I have this dream of being a barbecuer.
Okay.
And
All right.
I don't think I can.
There's still time, Stan.
Well,
Yeah.
I play with it in my backyard. That's as far as I've got. I am going to
You're at the
compete.
garage stage.
I
you're at
am.
the
I'm at
garage
the
stage.
garage
All right.
stage. That's right. And driving on 36, I'm not sure I could compete here with what you already have. But I'm always intrigued by the choices of culinary options you have here in town. And there has to be a hole in the wall somewhere that you enjoy going to.
Oh, I have to say, I probably my favorite is probably Pho 36. As if you want to call it a hole in the wall,
I've been there. Yeah.
I don't know that there's a hole in the wall anywhere in this community. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're young. It's all
Yeah, absolutely.
sort of fresh development, but Pho 36 is probably one of my favorites. You are teeing me up here, so I'm going to take the opportunity. I want to
Go for it.
brag about some of our shopping destinations and
Absolutely.
eating dining options. So Costco, the building we're in right now, Cooper's Hawk, and Bubba's 33, right, more or less right next door, are one of only 3 of each of those in the entire state of Indiana, right here in Avon. Raising Cane's, for anybody that wants some of that One Love delicious sauce. I'm seeing some shaking heads. Though. She don't like that One Love chicken sauce. That's okay. For those of you that do, this is the only one in the 9-county area. So Indianapolis, they don't have a Raising Cane's. They do right here in Avon. And then Swenson's, my 11-year-old would call that Swensons. Swensons, my family enjoys that a lot. We love Swenson's. It's the only one outside of the state of Ohio, is right here in Avon. So we've got some pretty unique, amazing eating destinations or eating options and shopping destinations. There was, forgive me, there was one other that I wanted to mention.
You're going to announce that IKEA that's coming.
Oh yeah. Anybody here, a developer for IKEA or Trader Joe's? I hope I impressed you. Please come out to the community.
Well, now that we have all of our lunch recommendations, I do want to turn it to the audience for a few minutes of audience Q&A before we wrap up this morning. What do you guys have for us?
Don't be shy.
We always start slow and then it gets going.
So I know we're focused on economic growth and things. What about green space and our fields and stuff like that? Like, where is that a priority? When I moved here 20 years ago, that's all this was.
Sure.
Cornfields, and now you drive. My kids don't see that, so I'm like, they're cornfields. fields still around? Or like, is that still a focus to kind of keep what we came from, important to the town of Avon, to keep that kind of green
Before you jump in,
Yeah.
really quickly, I just want to repeat the question for those of us that are joining virtually and anyone in the back. The question was around green space and how Avon is prioritizing maintaining green space and park space.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yes. As I mentioned earlier, we found some strategic parks land to, at a strategic time, strategic pricing to set aside. Unfortunately, they're undeveloped, so you're not seeing them yet, as land itself is expensive. And sometimes we have to prioritize that budget. Sometimes we have to, nope, we can just buy it now and we'll get to it later. We've got a handful of amazing parks land, green space for you to enjoy with your kids, enjoy with your family. But right, to develop it's going to be another expense, and we're working on financing that now. We're trying to work on that for the future. So the short answer is yes, we are focused on it. And then your second part of that was where we're again in the middle of getting ready to begin updating our comp plan, which will include that vision. And we actually just worked on this, spoke about this last night. We look like we're going to try and target that White Lick Creek area, which on the west side of White Lick Creek is East and Gray, the project we've been talking about. There's going to be some parkland in there. There's on the east side of White Lick Creek is some of the most beautiful landscape in this community is at some parkland that we just purchased 2 years ago. It's undeveloped yet, but I promise you, once the public gets in there, you're going to see what I've seen. It's beautiful. It's off the beaten path. I promise you, when you dip down into that valley where it's at, you escape from a suburb, you escape from Avon, you are back into what it felt like, that there's no vehicles, there's just farm fields, etc. We're working on it. We're working on it. We haven't forgot that.
And really quickly, for anyone that's not familiar, 2 seconds, what is a comp plan?
Comprehensive plan. Yes, that's a great question. I'm sorry. So our comprehensive plan is a local government's sort of vision on what they want for particular development areas, for what we want to see this community grow into, and how we build it. So our comprehensive plan helps not only us make decisions on rezone requests or businesses or developments coming into town, but truth be told, it helps you, the developer, know, okay, this community is wanting to put XYZ in this location. I have XYZ. I think I would go perfect there, and I can work with the town to do that. That comp plan is in a document form, our vision of what we think this community should grow into. Thank you. That was a great question.
Do you have any sneak peeks for what you want the vision of Avon to be, or your number one priority?
I honestly, just to really, that's a great question, and I should have a great answer. And this is the best that I'm going to give you is just to deliver on, I think, our mission statement. So just like any business, any organization has a mission statement on kind of what they want to deliver. The town of ours is Avon is a safe, vibrant community for active families and thriving businesses. We are, I think, across the board trying to target each one of those kind of keywords. Safe, we've invested in public safety. We continue to invest in public safety. A vibrant community, parks help us become a vibrant community. Some of these businesses help us become a vibrant community. For active families, I didn't get the opportunity to speak to earlier. We are actively partnering with Avon Junior Athletics Association, AJAA, is our youth sports in this community. We are actively partnering with them to try to grow and improve our youth sports programs. We hope to, in the future, become the #1 youth sports program in the state, right here in Avon. So again, trying to deliver on for active families, and of course, thriving businesses. The whole thing we've been talking about more or less this whole time is trying to find ways to make sure your business is successful. Again, right here in Avon. So to your point, I would say just to try and, as best I can, deliver on that mission. Avon is a safe, vibrant community for active families and thriving businesses.
Wonderful. Any additional questions from the audience? Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this morning. You mentioned Duke and we are so appreciative of the support Duke and housing I do want to brag on Avon because Avon across the county is leading with 59% of children having access. Where is the focus on affordable childcare? Obviously, that's what we should bring businesses into town, families, helping them, thrive and develop there. But where is that focus on that child aspect?
Do you want to repeat that? Yeah.
The question was around where the focus is for prioritizing childcare in Avon. And I do want to repeat that point because I think that is very impactful. 59% of Avon children have access to childcare. So congratulations on that stat as well.
That's a challenging question to answer. And it's challenging because I don't know that we have currently really focused on researching what the problems or the gaps that are missing that maybe we can help focus on. So the best answer I can give you is I don't know right now. But I promise you we're working on it. That's again something that we have identified as drastic areas of improvement, affordable housing and affordable childcare. Take this as good or bad, but that's not unique to this community. That is a problem, an opportunity that we're seeing across the country. It is not unique to Avon. We have been lucky to have some successes, just like you mentioned. But again, I fall back to right now, I don't have a good answer for you, but I will in the future. We are working on it. We'll get you something. We'll get you some kind of answer soon.
Okay. I think I saw another hand. Sure.
I'm an architect, and to build a good building, you've got to have a good foundation. You don't have a good foundation, no matter how nice the building is. So this isn't really a question, but a request, Russell, and that is, I would like to see a panel spotlight on where you have the power company, the water company, the gas company, and waste management, all sitting in a panel and telling me in 20 years, when everybody has an electric car in the garage, and everybody has electric range, we have all this trash that we're reducing. You guys are all on top of it. That we have a plan. We're going to have enough power to service all of these things that we want to do. We're going to have enough water to service all the sprinkler systems and all the water lines, and all the swimming pools, and all the fountains. And then we're going to have waste management that's going to be able to collect all of this waste and not ship it, to another town or, out of the barge somewhere in the ocean. And say, so I can come and I can sit and say, okay, you guys are on top of this. And you're not going to come to me in 5 years and say, the residents are going to have to pay to have these things built after the fact. You've already established all these nice things you want to do. I think that's great. Just tell me that utilities, the foundation of all those things you want to do, you're on top. You've got that plan. You're working on it. You have today or not. I got a brother who owns a plumbing company. He has 2 Teslas. Him and his wife both. They got a power bank in their garage. And he has to go to his office where he owns the power of his car because it takes a lot of juice in his house to do that. What happens when we're being told by our government that we want everybody to have electric cars? Years, everybody have electric stations. So this is the focus on the federal government. So I want to know, you guys are serious about this and take this on challenge, and you're going to be able to assure the residents that you can do all the things you want to do because you have the infrastructure. Like I said, not really a question that can be answered today, but I hope that you guys can develop that kind of a panel that I can come in. I'm sure a lot of people in town would love to come here.
Sure. Any comments on the state of utilities in the town of Avon?
Well, I'd turn it over to you guys to help us with the electricity. Right?
Stan, you're up.
I do feel like there is an opportunity to speak to that. We, the town of Avon, continually work with our utility providers. Duke Energy has many grants to help us, has given us grants to help encourage economic development. At the same time, we work with them continually on projects just to ensure successful power generation is going to be brought to them. We there are many other utilities that we work with in the same fashion and capacity, wastewater, water as well. You made a point, and that was the only part that I really was hard to swallow was, I hope that you said something along the lines, but I hope in 5 years they're going to come back to Nick. I wish I had an ability to crystal ball more than 5 years, and ensure that we're going to not need to ever come back to the residents for a project to improve or grow. I could never make that promise. I don't think anybody could.
Comment is that I want to know that they have a 20-year plan, because they always all have projections on how much growth you need to do in the infrastructure, what those rates are going to be, like I said, 90% we're already tapped out, so it's like, how are they going to make that happen? And you should be able to project that, in 5 years, it's going to cost X number of dollars, and here's where that money's coming from. For 10 years, that's X number of dollars. So I'm not saying I want to be shocked and surprised. I just don't want to be shocked, surprised then.
Sure.
Be shocked, surprised then.
20-year plan.
Yeah, let's start. Let's,
20.
Final
we're
comments,
gonna need a little tough.
comments or questions?
No, I'll just quickly say, at least as far as our work, we think 20 years ahead. And it doesn't just start with local service. It has to start with the generation capacity to serve all of these amenities that presumably we're going to enjoy in 5-10 years. And from the generation and ensuring capacity to transmission lines, bringing it closer to Avon, and then finally this distribution system, which is hugely important, as you just described with your brother's scenario. So we are investing already in all three of those areas, and it's incumbent on us. It's our responsibility to make sure that we're ready. So I welcome the opportunity to be part of that panel. I bet we're ready than the others, more ready than the others. No disrespect to our peers, but you're going to round this up.
I was going to ask if you had any closing
Well,
remarks or comments
just-
or questions.
One, and as we've done these, many of us have been around elected officials a lot, and I'm always struck by the sacrifice, and you've sacrificed twice. You've been a public servant twice in your military service and now in this role. And I think on behalf of all of us, want to thank you and your peers who are with us today for putting your neck out, running for office, which isn't an easy thing to do. You're excited about the opportunity. It's obvious, and enjoy it. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Particularly in both respects. And I always think about this in terms of, we really don't appreciate enough the sacrifices that public officials make away from their
I
families.
second that. Yes.
All the hours you put in away from your families and other things you'd like to be doing. And so I just wanted to recognize that and thank you.
Thank
And
you.
others.
You are
I
absolutely-
know.
We've got a couple of them.
Yeah.
I know Greg and Tim are in here as well, my co-council members, and they would say the same thing. It is a sacrifice. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. And it can be challenging, but the end goal is we're doing something bigger than us. And I don't know of anything more honorable and worthy of time and effort and sacrifice.
Thank you.
Very, very well said, President Pope. Thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you very much for having us. This was
Of course. Join me in thanking President Pope and the town of Avon for this morning's conversation. A few final thank yous before we wrap up. Thank you to the Avon Chamber of Commerce for partnering on this morning's event, the town of Avon, the Hendricks County Economic Development Partnership, Cooper's Hawk for hosting us this morning, and the Chamber ambassadors who helped us at registration. Monumental awards. My marketing team's looking at me. Monumental award submissions are open, so please submit your projects by June 30th. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Happy Friday.